As you all know, it is a break in the continuity of the bone. Okay, so a fracture results in loss of its mechanical stability and also partial destruction of the blood supply. Then fracture healing starts as soon as the bone breaks. Okay, and it takes months to years for the fracture to heal. Okay, so now these are a few types of fractures. Like the first fracture is a green stick fracture. What is a green stick fracture? Where you can see that there is only one cortical break. Okay, so this is the bony cortex which you are seeing. So you are seeing there is a break in only one of the cortex, whereas this cortex is not showing any fracture. Then what is a transverse fracture? It is a through and through fracture. Okay. Then comminuted fracture is the one where the bone has broken and formed multiple fragments. Okay. And then comes a spiral fracture, which is usually caused by a twisting injury. Okay. If the injury is coming from a twisting force, then the bone might have this spiral oblique type of fracture. Okay. And what is a compound fracture? Compound fracture is a fracture where you are seeing there is a break in the bone has displaced from its place, and also there is soft tissue injury. Okay, soft tissue open injury. So this is a compound type of fracture. So now coming to the anatomy of the bones, which you have already studied in your first year. What is the bone? What are the parts of the bone? This is the epiphysis, the two ends. Then comes the long shaft, which is the diaphysis, and the junction between the epi and the diaphysis is the metaphysis. Okay. So now these are the different components of the bone, that is the mineralized matrix. Then the three cells, which are the osteoblasts, the osteocytes and the osteoclasts. So what is the function of the osteoblasts? Bone formation. Osteoclasts, bone resorption. Okay. And your osteocytes, which are the bone cells. And then comes the periosteum, which is the hard exterior part of the bone. Then comes the endosteum, the medullary cavity, and finally the bone marrow. So now fracture healing, it can be direct or it can be indirect. Okay, so in direct fracture healing, what happens? There is direct contact between the bone ends. The bone forms directly across the fracture line, and it does not involve a formation of callus. Okay, I will come to what is a callus in the next few slides. And in indirect or the secondary fracture healing, what will you get? You will get a callus formation, and this callus will finally form into the bone, okay, with time. So now stages of fracture healing. As I told you all that the fracture healing starts immediately after the bone breaks, okay. So now in first one day, what will happen? There will be hematoma formation, okay. That is the first stage of your fracture healing. So now as you can see on day 1, what will you see? There will be rupture of blood vessels. So there will be a hematoma formation in the fracture site. So there will be formation of fibrin mesh which will seal the fracture site, and this meshwork forms a framework for inflammatory cell influx and formation of granulation tissue. So now in the next 2 weeks, what will happen? There will be release of few inflammatory factors, which are the platelet derived growth factor, then transforming growth factor beta, and your fibroblast growth factor by degranulated platelets and inflammatory cells. So these factors will in turn, they will activate the osteoprogenitor cells in the periosteum, medullary cavity and surrounding soft tissue. This will stimulate the osteoclastic and osteoblastic activity, and there will be formation of a soft callus. Okay, so first there is formation of this soft callus. So at this stage, there will be a stability, but the patient, you cannot tell the patient to walk. Okay, in the first 2 weeks of the fracture. Next comes in 2 to 3 weeks, the activated osteoprogenitor cells will develop subperiosteal trabeculae of bovine bone, and there will be a formation of this bony callus. Okay, the soft callus which had formed, it will form a bony callus. Okay, so now activate and the surrounding structures, they will also differentiate into chondrocytes, which will further form the fibrocartilage and the hyaline cartilage. And in the next 3 weeks to months, what will happen? There will be endochondral ossification, which will create a contiguous network of bone, and newly deposited bony material will be formed beneath the periosteum. Okay, means the fracture is slowly stabilizing. And then the fractured bone ends, they bridge, and further the callus will become more hard, and your patient, you can allow him to walk. Okay, so the patient will be able to weight bear. Okay, so now healing process is completed when the medullary cavity is restored. Okay, so if a question on fracture healing comes, then these few things you all have to write. Okay, what is the process of your fracture healing? So this is a diagram again which is showing you that in the first few days you will get hematoma formation with your releasing of the inflammatory factors, then formation of granulation tissue, then formation of soft callus, followed by hard callus, and last there is the stage of remodeling. This stage of remodeling can happen from months to years. Okay. So now again, individually here again I have explained few things like the hematoma formation, then your inflammation and cellular proliferation. So you can just go through these slides once again. Then your callus formation, that is your soft callus and your bony callus. Then finally your formation of the bony callus and bone remodeling. Okay. So whichever is suitable for you, you can write it in that way. Okay. It usually comes as a 5 marker. Okay. Short note. And then comes your complication of fracture healing. So like after you have given all the treatment to the patient comes to you after a month or so saying that he is complaining of pain again, and when you do an x-ray you see that your fracture has not healed. So that is called your non-union. Okay, that the fracture has undergone non-union. So what are the two types of delayed union? One is a non-union and one is a malunion. Non-union is your bone has not united, and malunion is united but it has not taken the proper, like the integrity is not maintained. Okay. So now what are the causes of this malunion? So first and foremost, if there is inadequate blood supply, like if the bone has not gotten proper blood supply, then the bone will not heal properly. Okay. The second one is if there is severe soft tissue damage. Okay, like if the fractures was very much compound and the whole soft tissue has damaged to such an extent then that the fracture has not healed properly. Okay. Then if there is an infection, then insufficient splintage, like when you had immobilized the bone, you had not properly applied the splint. Okay. And excessive traction, if you had applied excessive traction. So one more thing you remember, patients like smokers, in smokers what happens, you know that smokers, they have this atherosclerosis, right? So atherosclerosis grows. So that time what happens, the bones get inadequate supply. So whenever you are counseling a patient, like a patient has come to you with a fracture, you have to counsel the patient to stop smoking if he wants a proper bone healing. Okay, because if he smokes, there will be inadequate blood supply, because of which the bone will not heal properly. Okay. So now a very important differential, as I told you all, that whenever fracture healing comes, please do not write wound healing there. Okay, because wound healing is completely different from a fracture healing. As you know, in wound healing you are seeing the callus formation. Okay, so just in the next slides I have just shown you all the wound healing. Just go through it. What are the types of wound healing you all have? Primary intention and secondary intention. So whenever a question on bone healing, like bone healing comes, please write fracture healing, and if a question on wound healing comes, please write this. Okay, don't write your wound healing. Okay, vertigo, tinnitus, then dental malocclusions, basilar invaginations, and cranial nerve disorders. And sometimes, very rarely, the Paget's disease may have a sarcomatous transformation to form osteosarcoma. Okay, and increased bone vascularity will be there, so patients might have a high output, okay, cardiac output. Coming to the surgical complications, in such patients, the marrow will be very much vascular. So whenever you do any procedure, he or she will have a profuse bleeding. Okay, and then the bone is structurally, as I told you, it is very weak, and if the spine is involved, then you cannot give epidural anesthesia or spinal anesthesia to these patients, okay. Then comes investigations. The first and foremost, as I told you, alkaline phosphatase is very much raised, and BSAP is the bone specific alkaline phosphatase which will be elevated in such patients. Then you can do a serum acid phosphatase which is also elevated. Then urinary markers like hydroxyproline, then deoxypyridinoline. These tests you can do in urinary. These are the urinary markers, and your serum calcium and phosphate will be normal in such patients, okay. Coming to the X-rays. Now these X-rays are your MCQs, okay. If you are preparing for, like, when you complete your MBBS, when you are preparing for your NEET PG, these are the questions which might come for your MCQs, okay. So in long bones, first what will you see? Because the bones are very much weak, you are seeing that the bone has shown anterior bowing, right. The bone has become curved, okay. So this is the tibia which you are seeing, which is showing a thickened cortex. The thickened cortex, you can see this hyperdense area, and the bone is showing a anterior bowing, okay. Then comes the pelvic brim sign. So this is also seen in Paget's disease. What will happen? The pelvic brim will be very much thickened in the patient, okay. So this is the iliopectinate line which is very much thickened in such patients. Coming to the skull, you will see this cotton wool appearance of the skull, along with a increased diploic space. That is, there will be the distance between the inner table of the skull and the outer table of the skull will be increased in such patients, okay. So this is also known as the Tam O'Shanter sign. Next, coming to the spinal findings, what will you see in the spinal vertebrae? You will see a picture frame vertebra, okay. As you can see, this vertebra has become like a picture frame, right. All the four sides have become very much thickened, okay. So this is known as a picture frame vertebral sign, and this is known as a ivory vertebra, which is seen in a sclerotic phase of Paget's disease, where you can see that the vertebra has become very much hyperdense, okay. So this is a sign called ivory vertebra. Next comes the blade of grass sign, which you are seeing here. The bone has become hypodense on the above. So here you can see an inverted V sign or the candle flame sign. So this is known as the inward blade of grass or the candle flame sign, again a finding of Paget's disease. Then come loser's zone. Now what happens? As you can see here, these are not fractures, but these are pseudo fractures, okay. Because of the thickened cortex, what happens? These areas look like fractures, okay. So because of which these are known as the loser's zone, again a finding of the Paget's disease. Then you can do a scintigraphy with technetium 99 scan, which will show increased uptake in the right hemipelvis and spine. Wherever there is this Paget's disease, there will be increased uptake of technetium 99. Coming to the differential diagnosis, so you have to differentiate Paget's from osteomalacia, fibrous dysplasia, multiple myeloma and osteopetrosis. Then treatment, these patients, as I told you, they are mainly asymptomatic, but if any patient comes with an active disease, you have to treat them, okay. So first and foremost, you have to relieve the pain and you have to inactivate the disease, right. It doesn't have a cure, so you have to give him bisphosphonates, okay. Bisphosphonates you have to give him. Then you can give him vitamin D and calcium supplements, and you have to monitor his ALP levels, okay. As I told you, alkaline phosphatase levels help you in showing the progression of the disease, okay. So next, you can also give him calcitonin, okay. Calcitonin is also given. These are the dosage. If you are curious to know, please go through them. Then this is a case showing a 55-year-old female comes with a pathological fracture, okay. You can see a fracture in the left intertrochanteric region, okay. So when you do a pelvis scan, what are you seeing? You are seeing that the bones are looking very much of a poor quality, right. So you are seeing the bones are very much showing a thickened cortex, then hyperdense bone. So then what you do? You do a serum alkaline phosphatase level. So what you see, the alkaline phosphatase level is very much increased, okay. So you suspect that the patient might be suffering from a Paget's disease, okay. But the calcium and phosphorus levels are normal in such patients. Same patient, you are seeing that the skull is showing so much hyperdensity, right. So this is also seen in a case of Paget's disease. So what is the skull sign I told you all? You will see. What is it called? What sign? MCQ. I told you, the space between the outer and inner table will increase. So, what is the sign? T diye shuru, T. Tam O'Shanter sign. Okay, so if you see Tam O'Shanter sign anyway, then straight away the diagnosis will be Paget's disease. Okay, so can you tell me the 3 phases of a Paget's disease? Anyone? Paget's disease er 3 phase ki. Tumi bolo. Paget's er 3 phase ki. Very good, very good. Okay, thank you.